All right, y'all. We back. The MLB trade deadline just passed, and the Dodgers made some moves. Some that we wanted to make, some couldn't quite get done as we hoped. And we're here to talk about it all. Guy boy Jake here with us yet again. Thank you for joining us. Had a couple of great episodes with him last week as well, talking about the boxing matches that went on over this weekend, as well as some grades we did with that. We'll maybe do more of those in the future. But glad to be here today talking about all things going on. I'm in Dodgers world, along with Alec back in the building. Glad to have you, bro. And looking forward to all that's going on here. We'll jump into it in a moment, but first off, as we always do, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, comment, how you do that. Appreciate all the love. Brought to you also by Breadwinner and Zinc. Thank you for them for showing love to them. Got the merch on there, and yeah, excited to get into it all. So we haven't done this in a couple episodes. We're gonna run the intro real quick and then jump into it. And again, thank you all for tuning in. All right, so here we go. And honestly, I let that just get on, but I'm the one still learning as we talked about before. So I'm kind of going to pass to you guys from here. I will set the scene by just saying Andrew Friedman, the president of operations here for the Dodgers, was many fans hoped he would have a grand deadline for us and would bring in a lot of big names, and didn't quite hit the mark as we expect. So we did get acquisitions here, and excited to see what you guys think about it all. So Alec, as you guys take it away here, just thoughts on what Andrew Friedman put together for our Dodgers post deadline.
Yeah, there was like a multitude of layers of the types of moves that we made. We brought back some guys that we've had previously on the team in Kike and Joe Kelly. So we got a homecoming for those guys. We bolstered some of the positions that needed a little bit of help, as far as like we talked about the shortstop position. We needed a little bit of hitting there. Brought in Ahmed Rosario, and then we needed desperately, at least Dodger fans felt like we needed another starting pitcher in the rotation, and we did bring in Lance Lynn, but we weren't able to get some of the major potential aces that we hoped for in the Justin Verlander or a Dylan Cease potentially. So yeah, go for it.
Last thing, I'll pass it back to you guys. Sorry. Is there Dodger beef that I don't know about? What's the deal with all these guys not wanting to come here?
Well, there was only one in particular that invoked the no trade clause in
I thought there were
Eduardo Rodriguez.
No,
it was only Eduardo Rodriguez where we had the deal done and he nixed it. But Verlander, he already has the history with Houston. He won a World Series there. He got did he get a Cy Young last year as well?
Yeah, whatever.
He's got the history with Houston. So that one was more understandable. And Friedman just kind of doing his due diligence there, but kind of struck out, I guess you could say, as far as bringing in an ace to this rotation. So it's a complex grading system, I guess, with this trade deadline, but a multitude of moves that were made up and down the roster. And what did you think overall, Jake?
Well, I think it's going to depend on how you view the moves the Dodgers are making, right? Like, there's no secret the Dodgers want Shohei Ohtani. I think that was option number one. Now they were, to my knowledge, I think they were ready to go. They were ready to offer whoever. That's why, this year we've seen, unlike many Dodger teams of late, where it's been a lot of, playing stars at, premium positions. It's been the James Outmans. It's been guys like that. Even Vargas for a while was holding it down because the Dodgers were trying to showcase what they had. I mean, even it's a testament to how hard those guys are working, that like when you're on the Dodgers, you're getting big league time as a young guy. You've made it. So what the Dodgers were really doing, I think option number one was, okay, showcase who we have, how deep we are, to where if things get so bad for the Angels and a move can be made, there's nobody that's going to offer what we want to offer. Mm-hmm. But I think what started to happen was, Shohei's very clearly the MVP. Like I almost believe he could stop playing right now and he could still win MVP. That's how dominant he's been as both a hitter and a pitcher.
Yeah.
But the Angels made it clear that they're like, hey, we're not trading this guy. So Dodgers have to pivot, and they go, okay, well, that's still a guy we can sign in the offseason. We got to see what the Angels do, but the Dodgers are still in the Shohei Ohtani picture. So when you're looking at grading the Dodgers this year, I think you still have to think about it. What's their plan A? That to me seems like their plan A. So what they didn't want to do was take on bad contracts. I don't think, that's like where you're like, okay, a Verlander's available. Okay, the Dodgers will entertain it, but they're not going to eat all that money because they want to make sure they have money on the books to be able to go to their plan A. And so when I think you look at who the Dodgers were able to get, no, they couldn't get a Giolito, which there were, rumors about Giolito. They couldn't get Cease.
Right.
There were other guys out there, and they couldn't do it. But I still think you have to, when you're considering how to grade the Dodgers on it, you look at what they did right now. They didn't sabotage their plan of keeping their books very flexible. So I think that's a win. And they had to get a little bit better hitting option at shortstop because it's been the Corey Seager, Trey Turner guy that's been at shortstop for the Dodgers that's been a fixture at the top of the order. And now now we're in a platoon situation. It's a different story for the Dodgers. But bringing in Kike Hernandez, a guy who can play short, he can play second. You still got Chris Taylor who can play some short. I think keeping Mookie Betts in the outfield as much as possible was a win for the Dodgers. That's where he's saving the most amount of runs defensively, is with that arm in the outfield. So I think, again, I think the Dodgers are viewing 2023 as if we win a World Series this year, it's a bonus. And knowing that it's not always about, look at the most expensive payrolls. The Mets crash and burn, and they just got rid of both their arms. Right? Padres, they still were buyers at the deadline, but it's not looking good for them.
Right.
And you got the Yankees, who it's a tough division, but they're still in last place, even though that last place is still very close in striking distance of being a wild card team. So payroll does not always mean, instant playoff success. As Dodger fans, we've come to understand that because wow, these teams that they've had over the years with superstars get there, and then it's baseball. Stuff happens. So I think I'm not ready to say this was a failure. I do think it would have been nice to get a Cease or even Giolito, even though he got absolutely shelled today. But I'm going to say I would give the Dodgers about a B minus in the trade deadline, because I don't think they failed, but I don't think they came up with the big fish. But the big fish could be this offseason. So if that's the case, then everyone's going to look back and say, hey, the Dodgers are smart. So,
yeah, I mean, to G's point about potentially teams not liking the Dodgers or not wanting to help, not wanting to trade, I think with your point about the Angels and not wanting to move Ohtani, part of it too is Art Moreno is not wanting to help the Dodgers in any way and not wanting to see him go to the other LA team as well. So I'm sure there were attempts from Friedman to seek to acquire Ohtani earlier on, but they made it pretty clear prior to the deadline that they weren't going to be moving Ohtani. So obviously Dodgers had to pivot there, but I do see potentially them being able to acquire him in free agency.
And one thing I'll add too is, I mean, this to me, the moves the Dodgers made, you bring in Lance Lynn, right? Lance Lynn's, you're pitching in Chicago, it's a different story. Your run support's not going to be the same.
Right.
Based off how the Dodgers have, assembled their lineup, you got, it's not the same hitting team as last year, but they're still putting up runs. So he's going to pitch it a little bit differently. You don't want to completely change your approach, but hey, Lance Lynn now becomes your number 4 starter when, you got to say, Kershaw comes back. The main thing here is saying, okay, this is Julio Urias' contract year. He's going to try to go where the money is. He's a Scott Boras client. So the Dodgers, I bet, are internally thinking, well, Julio's trying to get paid. So he's going to be pitching like his money's on the line. So if they can go, well,
so far that hasn't been great, but yes.
Right. Yeah. But maybe a hot October, hot August, September takes you into October, and you get Clayton, keep his arm healthy enough for a maybe a surprise postseason run, because this team still has arms. And Bobby Miller, keeping him around, I think the Dodgers are so high on him. And his name was floated around in Nolan Arenado talks, but I don't think getting another hitter was like a big bat like that. Like that would have been great. But again, Ohtani, even if the Angels were non-committal and would have been a death sentence trading him to the Dodgers, that's a guy who you go, okay, that's our big 40-plus home run hitter who also enters our rotation. Right. And that solves your problem if Julio's gone next year. We're like, right, we replaced him with a guy who sells even more tickets and a guy who hits even more home runs.
Yeah. So seems like the team is at least not as grand of a jump as we would have hoped, but still in better position than we were on pre-deadline, and things be looking up for them. We haven't got Ohtani, as you pointed out, but things still could be on the up and up for this team this season and beyond. We saw last year that we had the disappointing postseason where it seemed like momentum all just collapsed once postseason started. Can this team find the right momentum this year to make a real run, or do you see a similar fate for us this time around as well?
I have my concerns about a deep run only because of the instability with the pitching rotation currently. Jake mentioned Kershaw coming off injury. Obviously, he's in his later stages of his career, and he's kind of dealt with injuries the past few years. If we can get him back healthy, he was pitching like a Cy Young level pitcher. Go for it.
Quick novice question. It seemed like I thought maybe even 2-3 years ago, people thought Kershaw was on his last arm, like he was almost on the way out. Now he's revived himself to the point where he's a lead, a main pitcher for this squad. This time around, or is he still someone who needs another ace alongside him to get the job done for us?
Yeah, he never left. He just dealt with the injuries.
I'm saying it seemed like people were saying, oh, he was kind of on his last legs. He may not be.
Whoever was saying that was incorrect.
Okay.
To kind of compare it across sports, I would say it's kind of like, I mean, if you're looking at it like a LeBron James type of, I mean, Kershaw and LeBron, they don't do the same things.
Right.
But when you're looking at a guy like that, you go, when he's there, but it's a matter of like 82 game season. And for baseball, obviously multiply that by 2, basically, right? 162 games. Kershaw, what he's showing at this rate is the back is not 100%.
I guess it's more like Anthony Davis if you want to do it.
Right. But at a accomplished a lot more like what LeBron has,
Sure.
But yeah, so the injuries show up, but it's like it's just managing that guy through the season, which is kind of like, okay, these are where the guys you got to have, you're developing your pitching prospects, your Bobby Millers, right? Grove, just filling them in where you can get them to fit in. The biggest disappointment, I think, thus far has been Julio Urias, because not having Walker Buehler, you knew that was going to be the case when he got hurt.
Right.
Dustin May needing to once again have a surgery to repair his elbow.
Yeah.
That's a tough blow.
Yeah.
But again, this is baseball, so that stuff happens. But you need a guy when he's there, like Julio, especially pitching under a contract year. That's what you need. You need him to be your ace. And the fact that they're relying on Kersh, he was killing it. But again, like it's gonna happen. The guy's gonna be, dealing with the bumps, the bruises, the nicks, the strains, like that type of stuff. It's a long season, and so I think the Dodgers can get through the season. But now the matter is like when those pitches become even more crucial, right? We're high leverage situations. So it's a lot of stress on the Dodger arms, and Dodger pitchers are going to have to just shove because they didn't get that guy that's just a freak. Lance Lynn's not a freak, but he can add to your rotation.
Well, I'll add 2 things to that real quick. One, I went to the Dodger game last year, and there was one game Julio was pitching. I ended up getting his jersey. You guys didn't realize I had his jersey on.
Yeah.
Jersey on. So hopefully he can get back to that.
You jinxed him is what you're telling us.
His jersey. Say it again.
You jinxed him is what you're telling us.
I guess so. Sorry. Okay. Hey, my fault. But also, you joked about Anthony Davis being Clay Kershaw being Anthony Davis. Hopefully he can get more to that championship level that we saw from Anthony Davis a few years ago, and not be the injury type of guy that we've seen from him in recent years. So yeah, hopefully things turned up for us during this last stretch here.
Might need to add Anthony Davis to the rotation, but it just continuing my point. I think I just have my concerns about the depth, I guess, of the rotation for a World Series run because of what we talked about with Kershaw, what we talked about with Urias. Buehler potentially can make a comeback. They've talked about maybe like in late September, but you can't like rely on him.
No, I'm not counting on that. Yeah, but he could. It could.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Dustin May hurt as well. Gonsolin hasn't really been a big strikeout guy or a deep into the game guy. It's like 5, 6 if you're lucky innings out of him. Mm-hmm. So I'm concerned in a playoff scenario about this rotation. You mentioned Lance Lynn. I have my concerns about him just giving up the home run ball.
The long balls,
especially in Dodger Stadium. It's been like number 2 in park factor in the last few years. Just giving up. He gave up 3 to the Athletics last night. And that was kind of a litmus test for me where I'm like, going against one of the worst lineups in the league, how are you going to fare? And he gave up 3 solo shots. Still got the win because, as you mentioned, he's got the run support in LA. But I'm concerned once he goes against more MLB level talent at the plate, like what it's going to look like. So yeah, the Athletics are terrible.
Got it.
So yeah, I have major concerns about the pitching rotation. I know they've tried to bolster it with Eduardo Rodriguez late, and he nixed that deal, which hurt for Dodgers fans. But to each his own. I guess he had familial reasons why he wanted to stay on the East Coast. But yeah, I think that hurt me in terms of the trade deadline, the moves we sought to make. I thought we really needed another top 3 level starting rotation guy, and we weren't able to do so. So as far as World Series, the Braves right now in the NL look really nasty, man. So
yeah,
getting past them, I think, is going to be really tough.
Yeah.
With the current roster. But
anyone else scare you in the NL or no?
Cincinnati played us really tough, and that's a team that's explosive on the base paths. They're young. Now that type of experience does matter in the postseason.
Yeah.
So it's not always going to be.
And their pitching doesn't scare me either.
No, but they will get Hunter Green back, and that's a guy who's got some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So
Notre Dame project, right?
You know it.
So.
Yeah, respect.
So, yeah, because Arizona's cooling off. The Giants, I think, are having one of their kind of sort of overachiever years. They're a good ball club.
Yeah.
And the West is not a easy division by any stretch.
No.
I still think the Dodgers should win that division, but you look at the Braves. Everyone's trying to be the Braves right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Correct.
It's tough. They got a nasty lineup, and then probably the best pitcher in baseball right now with Strider, and good guys after him with Fried, and so
yeah, and Fried had been hurt basically all year too.
Yeah.
So to stay afloat the way they have without Fried, another Valley product, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they'd be the major team I'm looking at if I'm the Dodgers. Obviously, like Jake said, you can't look past the division either. It's always competitive, but in terms of pushing for a World Series, the Braves, they're probably the favorite, any NL or AL team. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be tuning in for it. All you guys that are giving me some great insight here. Definitely stuff for you guys all to look at. I'm excited to see the Dodgers end this season. I'm looking forward to how these acquisitions continue to improve this team going forward. Yeah, just excited for it all. Any other angles with this you want to look at real quick, or is that it for you guys?
Just with the other acquisitions, because we didn't touch on them as much. Bringing back Joe Kelly and Kike, I think, was huge for both of them. Kelly's had great stuff like for the White Sox this year as well. So nice to get some bolster to the bullpen that's kind of been up and down. We had a really bad stretch earlier on in the season, but they've kind of course corrected the bullpen. And I think adding Kelly to that bullpen will be a nice boost. And then Kike, I think the change of scenery is huge for him, coming back home and playing in front of packed stadiums and Dodger Stadium. He even mentioned it in his post-game conference, just how much he didn't realize he needed it. But being back here, playing in front of the LA fans, I think it's going to be huge for him. He's already had a couple big hits back in a Dodger uniform already. So happy to have him back, and happy to have both of them back on the team, as we've seen them have success in the past. And I think they still have the tools to be impactful, and they have the veteran playoff experience as well if we are to make a run. So I was glad we made those moves as well.
And then last thing I'll add too is you took a look at it from the big league level. I'll take a look at it from the minors. Okay. Dodgers did not part ways with any of their top prospects for any of these moves. So it'll be interesting to see, all right, the trade deadline is up now. There's no trades going down right now, but as winter approaches, right, we still got a whole season to play, and I'm excited to see it unfold. But the Dodgers have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to their prospects, the pipeline, and there isn't a spot for all these guys, because right now you have a guy like Will Smith who is, he's becoming an even better defensive catcher, but obviously the guy can mash. And maybe he's your guy who becomes your DH. The Dodgers have two guys in Cartaya and Rushing who are both in their top three of their prospects, right? Diego Cartaya and Dalton Rushing, both. Maybe they end up switching positions, doing something else. But the way I look at it, those guys will have, like, one of them has to go. And if it wasn't this time right now, the time wasn't right. Like, you can't just, like, it's almost like you're just wasting some guys if you're just going to keep them in your farm system. It's not like, the Dodgers, like, they've got all these guys that could become really good big leaguers, but the hit rate is not 100%. It never has been. It's not an exact science. Right. But so, you strike while the iron's hot. That's going to have to be maybe next offseason for making some big moves.
Got it.
Oh, also a salute to Trace Thompson. He had that 1-3 home run game, and then he absolutely disappeared from the batter's box. And we shipped him in that White Sox deal over to Chicago. So he had a good year with us last year, and he had some good moments for us for sure. But major salute. Just happy trails. Wish you the best in Chicago.
But it seems like there's a lot of good to look at with this Dodgers squad. That there are some folks disappointed for reasons that we already discussed, but things do look up for us still, and excited to see how this last stretch of the season goes, and then beyond it in the offseason with a lot of moves that can be made on a grand scale too. So good things all across the board here. It seems like we've touched all the angles you guys wanted to get to. We will dive more into Shohei and what's going on with the Angels a little bit more in a moment. But for now, on the Dodgers side, glad to get to it all. Thank you for tuning in as you guys do. And I think that's it for us. Last words, guys. Good? Good. Okay. So, again, appreciate you guys for tuning in as you guys do. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, comment. How you show love, be sure to show it all. Stay tuned here as we have a lot more good stuff for you guys on the way. And appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. We'll see y'all in a second. Peace.
Deuces.